How did you know this was going to be a tough guy to fight, someone who could take tremendous punishment? I knew I wasn't going to be able to outpower him because it was my first time moving up to 200, so I had to rely on my gifts, movement, selection, and my best skills. At one point I even thought, oh god, I'm going to get messed up, baby. That was one of the best fights I've ever seen in my life. Happy Cinco de Mayo. I'm getting loaded. What are your thoughts on the fight? They call him a Mexican monster, for a reason. That was crazy. Were you expecting that? I was expecting David Morrell to go all 12 rounds because he's never been stopped before, at least not that I remember. I don't think he's ever been stopped, he's tough. But David Benavidez is much stronger than he was at 175, much stronger, and you can see it in his speed. He's not draining himself, you can tell. Were you impressed that he came back after the 4th round when it looked like it was over? Honestly, he's a warrior. I'm just very happy with this, and I want to keep fighting the best in the world and continue cementing my greatness. Everybody doubts me over and over again, but that's what I like. I like when people doubt me because then I get to come in here and show you what I'm really made of. So I just want to say thank you so much. I love every single one of you, and this is a blessing just to be here with you all. I feel like I'm really starting to come into my own. Everything I say, I do. You know what I mean? I said I was going to beat David Morrell. I said I was going to beat Caleb Plant. I said I was going to beat Anthony Yard. I said I was going to beat Gilberto Ramirez, so I'm just proving myself every time. I'm gaining a lot of confidence in myself. Back then, I thought it was just a dream that I could become great, but now I know for sure that this is my destiny. I'm very, very happy that I was able to deliver this type of performance on Cinco de Mayo in the United States. My last fight was in Saudi Arabia, where I also had a great performance, so it's truly a blessing to follow that up with another strong showing here in the US on such a special weekend. Watching a former world champion, a man who once looked invincible, being wheeled out of the T-Mobile Arena on a stretcher was a chilling reality. That was the situation for Gilberto Ramirez. The flashing lights, the hushed crowd, and the devastation painted a terrifying picture. But what if the most disturbing part of this tragedy wasn't just the brutal knockout? What if the real story is that the fight was lost long before the first punch was thrown, behind closed doors in training camps and under the flashing cameras of Fight Week? Perhaps a psychological surrender had already taken place. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a big 6th-round knockout by David Benavidez against Gilberto Ramirez on Cinco de Mayo weekend. It was definitely a great fight, but wow. David Benavidez knocked down Gilberto Ramirez in the 4th round and continued throwing relentless combinations, 6-punch sequences at close range. Gilberto Ramirez started the fight strong, coming forward and pressing the action, but David Benavidez's speed and combinations were simply too much. Shout out to Gilberto Ramirez. He showed an incredible chin. He took a lot of heavy shots, but eventually, David Benavidez closed his eye, and he just couldn't take any more. Big respect to him for his toughness. You know, Jamie Munguia as well, beating Resendez for the WBA title. And now you have David Benavidez, a 3-division champion. So what's next? We saw Canelo Alvarez in the building for Munguia, but he was nowhere to be found for the main event. Benavidez called him out, telling everyone to listen to the fans and ask if they really want this fight. The fans are calling for it too, and overall, it was a great performance. Days before stepping into the ring with one of the most feared men in the sport, a shocking confession slipped through the cracks. During routine fight media scrums, athletes usually project unshakable confidence, radiating invincibility. Instead, Ramirez dropped a bombshell that sent shockwaves through the industry, casually mentioning he might only have 1 or 2 fights left. When asked about his dream matchup before retirement, he simply said, "Let's find out. I have a fight this Saturday, and then who knows." Speaking about expectations, he promised fans a war in the ring and expressed confidence that he would raise his hand as the winner. Regarding his legacy, he stated that he already has one but hopes to add more to complete it. However, mentioning retirement while heading into a Cinco de Mayo showdown is almost like professional suicide. You don't step into a war zone while thinking about where you'll relax afterward. That mental edge, the key to survival at the elite level, seemed to be fading as he appeared to be openly planning his exit strategy even before the fight. Pretending to prepare for battle, and it showed in the way David Benavidez defeated Gilberto Ramirez tonight. When you look at other performances, like Terence Crawford vs. Canelo Alvarez, which was a masterclass, or Shakur Stevenson, Naoya Inoue beating Junto Nakatani, and even Alexander Usyk vs. Tyson Fury, all were great performances, no doubt. But what David Benavidez did to Gilberto Ramirez was on another level. After the weigh-in, I said to expect some James Toney-like skills from Benavidez, but I didn't think he would finish him in 6 rounds. This was his best performance yet. His pacing was brilliant, especially moving up in weight. He didn't throw too many punches early and relied heavily on his defense, showing flashes of that James Toney-style defensive craft. He paced himself, found his jab, and his hand speed at ringside looked absolutely insane. He's one of the fastest fighters in boxing, regardless of weight class, but to have that kind of speed at 200 pounds, along with such dexterity, is remarkable. He hurt Zurdo by switching to southpaw in the 4th round, landing a straight left, then following up with explosive combinations reminiscent of Sugar Ray Leonard and Oscar de la Hoya. Eventually, he dropped him with a right hand, hitting him with everything in the book. His inside left hook was especially effective, and his overall offense was beautifully put together. He is truly one of the most offensively prolific fighters in the sport. The contrast between the two camps couldn't have been more obvious. While his opponent was sharpening his tools with ruthless intent, Gilberto Ramirez seemed to be looking beyond the ropes, imagining a quieter life away from the heavy bags and grueling sparring sessions. That slight shift in focus is all it takes for a world-class athlete to become a walking target, and the fans got exactly what they came to see. So, there was a lot of talk this week about whether he's really a true Mexican, and all that. Look, Julio Cesar Chavez was on the fence about it when I asked him on Thursday after the press conference, but I don't think he's on the fence anymore. He hugged David Benavidez in the ring right after the fight. This kid, this man, has a chance to be the best Mexican-American fighter since Oscar de la Hoya. He's that good. He has that same kind of scintillating hand speed and combination punching that Oscar had. But Zurdo, Gilberto Ramirez, tried to give something back. I said before the fight that Zurdo was accepting his role as a supporting actor, and that's exactly what he did. In rounds 2 and 3, he tried to give Benavidez a taste of his own medicine and even had some success. He pressured him as the bigger man, trying to take away his range. Unfortunately for him, David Benavidez is an excellent inside fighter. Whenever he wanted, he picked his spots with sharp combinations. The short left hook couldn't miss, and even on the inside, he showed the dexterity to land a powerful jab. People often criticize Benavidez for squaring his feet, but he makes it work in a creative and dynamic way, even switching to southpaw at times. By the 6th round, after dropping Ramirez in the 4th, David Benavidez went back to pacing himself. This was arguably the best pacing of his career, better than against David Morrell or Caleb Plant. Part of that was because he had a more stationary target in front of him compared to fighters like Alexander Gvozdyk, Morrell, Anthony Yard, Plant, or even Demetrius Andrade, whom he stopped in a similar number of rounds. Those fighters all presented different challenges, but here the reality check inside the ropes was swift and merciless. When the bell rang, David Benavidez didn't just look for a win, he executed a systematic dismantling. The speed was blinding, the pressure was suffocating, and the sheer volume of punches felt like something out of a nightmare. 4-6 grueling rounds, it wasn't just a boxing match, it was complete domination. It was a terrifying physical breakdown of a man who didn't want to be there. Every blistering combination from the Mexican monster seemed to punch the remaining fight right out of Zurdo's soul. It wasn't just the sheer power, it was the relentless, suffocating angles. Benavidez trapped him against the ropes, unleashing hooks and uppercuts that carried heavy, dangerous intentions. There was no escape plan, no miraculous tactical adjustment from the corner. It was a one-sided execution that felt uncomfortably inevitable the longer it dragged on. By the time the final devastating blow landed in the 6th round, the illusion was completely shattered. The former cruiserweight champion wasn't just beaten, he was broken. And I'm just very happy with this. I worked my ass off for this camp. I trained for 5 months because I knew Gilberto Ramirez was a warrior, and I knew he wasn't going to give up his titles willingly. So, I understood the risks. I knew what I was capable of. I went out there and told everybody that I wanted to stop Gilberto Ramirez, and that's exactly what I did. Here I am, and I'm just very happy with this. I want to keep fighting the best in the world and keep cementing my greatness. Everybody doubts me over and over again, but that's what I like. I like when people doubt me because then I get to come in here and show you what I'm really made of. So, I just want to tell you thank you so much. I love every single one of you, and this is a blessing just to be here with you guys. Thank you so much. The chaos that erupted the second the referee waved it off was hard to watch. Viral footage instantly flooded social platforms, showing a frantic medical team rushing into the ring. The immediate aftermath was completely stripped of the usual post-fight glamour. Flashing cameras captured an eerie stillness around his corner. Medics worked frantically. The crowd's roar faded into an anxious hum, and the harsh reality of combat sports was broadcast directly into millions of living rooms. The image of Gilberto being strapped to a stretcher and rushed to the local hospital shifted the entire atmosphere of the arena. This was no longer about celebrating a historic victory, it had turned into something far more serious. A chilling health scare overshadowed the fight. The movement, the precision, and the execution, that's exactly what he delivered. Start. Moving back. Moving back. Fans watched in silence as the grim reality of the fight game was laid bare before them. It's one thing to lose your belt, but it's an entirely different level of terror when your body simply gives out under the crushing weight of a younger, hungrier opponent. The guy we're talking about, David Benavidez, is special. David Benavidez is everything you want in a fighter. You're talking speed, aggression, and defense. And think about his defense, right? He's not moving around the ring. He stands right there in front of you, willing to take a shot. He'll block some shots, but he's also willing to take one, and then fire back every time. Combinations. Power. Just utter savagery. Oh my god, this guy is so special. Such a beautiful fighter to watch. It's like watching Pablo Picasso. The ring is his canvas. What he just did to Gilberto Ramirez was truly special. But if you followed Gilberto Ramirez throughout his career, you could see this coming. If you really studied both fighters, you already knew what was going to happen. I never rated Gilberto Ramirez that highly. He's a respectable fighter, but I never thought he was elite. His resume felt a little inflated. When you look at the top names, who did he really fight? What did he truly bring to the table? Then you watch David Benavidez, and you see the difference. You see who he's fought and what he does to opponents. If you followed both men closely, the outcome wasn't a surprise, and it proved to be true. David Benavidez, take a bow. Seriously, take a bow. The hardcore boxing community saw this bloodbath coming from a mile away. In the days leading up to the fight, forums and threads were ruthless, tearing apart that pre-fight interview. The writing was on the wall in bold letters. Fans urged gamblers to bet everything on David Benavidez, pointing out that any fighter talking about the end of the road is already defeated before the walk. They recognized an unspoken truth. Bringing up life after boxing is a major red flag. It's chilling how thousands of strangers can sense a fighter's compromised mindset even before the first punch is thrown. The internet didn't just predict a loss. It predicted a massacre, showing that fans could read a fighter's psychology through a single phone screen better than his own corner. It played out exactly that way. The buzzsaw of David Benavidez, throwing punches in relentless bunches. The only real chance Gilberto Ramirez had was to land something straight down the middle, but the speed was overwhelming. David Benavidez was simply too much. The Mexican monster looks set to dominate for a long time, and the entire night, from start to finish, was outstanding, arguably one of the best fight cards ever put together. Now the focus shifts to what's next for David Benavidez. He has plenty of options, but right now, he is the man in that weight class, and anyone who wants a shot will have to wait their turn. There are several top fighters, including Dimitri Bivol, along with other world champions, but David Benavidez currently stands above them all. While one career violently crashed into a wall, Another rose to legendary status. David Benavidez walked out of the carnage with the cruiserweight titles, cementing himself as the sport's new, terrifying centerpiece. Becoming a three-weight world champion on a major holiday weekend is the stuff of legends. He didn't just win, he devoured what remained of a fading champion's legacy. Taking those belts on such a historic stage solidified his reign and proved that anyone stepping into the ring with him must be willing to give everything, something his opponent simply wasn't prepared to do. The fight exposed a frightening gap between the two men that night. Matching him against a veteran who already had one foot out the door wasn't competition, it was a sacrifice. Now the industry is left dealing with the uncomfortable fallout. Promoters, analysts, and die-hard supporters are all echoing the exact same sentiment across every social media timeline. The highlights of those blistering 3rd to 6th round combinations are going viral, but the comments underneath them tell the real story. You can see the concern masking the congratulations online when rival promoters and harsh critics are sending prayers instead of breaking down the fight tape. You know the line has been crossed, and everyone is universally agreeing that it's time to hang up the gloves. There is no comeback tour being planned, and there are no demands for a rematch. The consensus is clear and brutal. For his own safety and long-term health, Ramirez can never step foot inside a professional ring again, as the sport has taken all it can from him. Yesterday, last time I checked, whoever had these dates was considered the man, and this was his audition to prove that he truly is the man, and I think he actually is. That kind of performance is going to be put on highlight reels for mainstream sports fans and casual viewers. Fights like Junto Nakatani, Shakur Stevenson, and Teofimo Lopez, along with others, were excellent, truly outstanding performances, but they're not the kind that capture the imagination of the mainstream public. What David Benavidez did there will, and although the crowd was actually smaller than it was for the David Morrell fight, which surprised me, I don't think that will be the case moving forward. I believe that was one of the best performances, right up there with Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr., and even, believe it or not, Adrian Broner versus Antonio DeMarco back in Atlantic City, when I covered that fight 14 years ago, was sensational. I'm leaving out a number of brilliant performances, but just off the top of my head, those are some of the ones that come to mind immediately. I've attended many fights, and again, Gilberto "Zurdo" Ramirez is not the best cruiserweight in the division. Jai Opetaia is probably the toughest fight out there for David Benavidez, but I think it's smart for him to move back down to light heavyweight right now. For a fight against Jai Opetaia, he would need to grow into the weight class a bit more, because Zurdo Ramirez was clearly the bigger man. However, I still believe that David Benavidez is the better pound-for-pound fighter than Jai Opetaia. Fighting without that burning, undeniable fire is the most dangerous gamble an athlete can take. When the mind retires before the body does, the final knockout isn't a surprise, it's a guarantee. The stretcher, the hospital visit, and the haunting end to a championship run serve as a dark warning to everyone else in the game. This isn't just the story of a lost title, it's a grim reminder of the absolute physical and mental toll exacted by the toughest sport on earth. You can never play boxing, and if you ever have to ask yourself whether you're done, the sport will answer that question for you in the most devastating way possible. But we'd love to hear from you. What do you make of this devastating defeat for Zurdo Ramirez? Also, who do you want to see David Benavidez fight next? Let us know in the comments. That's all from today's video. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring the bell icon so you never miss our upcoming videos. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Stay tuned, and we'll catch you in the next one.